Yesterday, the crypto market was in complete and utter fear, but only 24 hours later, everyone seems to be back and greedy once again. And while everyone seems to be raising their expectations on the market, even some of their sell levels immediately, guys, experienced investors, well, they're still being very cautious at the moment, and I believe it's for a very good reason. Come in closer, guys. Listen. All right, the harsh reality is most people in this market and watching this video right now are going to be part of the 98% of people who walk away with less money than they actually put in. I'm talking about going broke after what I believe to be the biggest transfer of wealth we will ever see likely in our lives. The next 2 years are going to be huge. And if you choose to ignore the reasons I'll mention today, then you, I believe, are already walking down that path. The same fear that scared you a month ago or the last 2 months and convinced you to panic sell is going to turn into greed and euphoria when we eventually reach the top of whatever this move is, and especially the top of this market. It's going to be convincing the little green goblin in the back of your mind, that green, greedy little thing, that it's going to be okay to sit and wait and hold, and that things just simply won't slow down. And then what happens, right? All the promises to take profits this time, or when I get back to break even, I'm just going to cash out, okay, and get out of the market. It's going to be thrown right out that damn window. Now, I only know this because I've been there myself. I watched life-changing money come right into my lap and then fall right between my fingers because I didn't execute when it mattered the most. All right, I refuse to let people that watch this channel fall into the same trap I have. Now, I won't lie, guys, some of the messages I've been receiving recently, and especially over the last few weeks, have been very worrying to say the least. While I've pretty much been holding quite firm on my personal bullish stance because charts and data never lied, so I just trusted the data, I've received so many messages from people telling me that,
Kyron, you have to be bearish now. The bull run's over, the bear market started. Stop telling people it's still on.
And then 24 hours later, those same exact people are saying, hey, we're going to go back to 100K, 150, 200K. We're so back, baby. The bull run is back on. What can I buy, Kyron? Tell me. This kind of emotional whiplash is exactly why most people fail in this market first and foremost. It's the emotional roller coaster that the whales are literally counting on to make sure that you give them your hard-earned money. What I'm talking about here is being emotionally involved with the market. Now, it's very hard not to do this, but I'm going to try to outline the steps in this video to help you overcome it, because this, and I'm not just saying this for the sake of being dramatic, this is way more important than any top 10 altcoin video. This is the most important thing, and this is why I do think 95 to 98% of people lose money in crypto and will lose money again in this market. And this is one of the main things that flagged in my mind today. We are now 3 points away from being extreme greed in this market, when literally 2 days ago, we were in extreme fear, or just about. That is extremely worrying to me, okay? And the reason being is because people follow the market. Now, again, don't take this personally. This is just me trying to help out here. Maybe some tough lovers involved, but it's all with the best of intentions, okay? I think a lot of people end up being in crypto, especially because the market's so volatile, falling victim to the massive highs and the massive lows, because I think also most people don't have time to research in this market as much as people like myself do, right? That's why you guys trust what I say, and that's why I actually built this, which is the Bitcoin cycle clock. And you guys will have this very soon. You pretty much sell in the dark red and in the red, and you pretty much buy in the green and in the low percentage score of yellow. The legend's here for you guys, and the score is the bottom right-hand side. Okay. Different video, different topic, but it's to help bring you back some conviction and gain conviction. But I understand right now that not many people can gain that themselves, so they naturally end up falling victim to this. And the really sad thing is the whales actually know this. So unless you have some research and time in the market, be very careful about listening to crazy high predictions, and especially be very careful when the whole market is in extreme greed. And I actually think extreme greed is way worse than being extreme fear. Because in extreme fear, you may panic sell. Some of us already have in the recent dip, right? But when you panic sell, at least you're clawing back, from 30 to 40 or 50% of your portfolio. You have something to show. Whereas in extreme greed, when everyone's euphoric and maybe that's Bitcoin at $300,000 and your favorite altcoins at 20x from these prices, you don't really want to sell, because while you think you would want to do that now, makes the most amount of sense, what happens is it's the journey to that destination that really does ruin you, because you go through all the different emotions, and when you reach the pinnacle, the top, it's on the back of a 5 or 6x in the last week. So you're not thinking about, maybe this is the top. You're thinking, if I hold for one more day, I'm going to be 10, 20, 100 grand more wealthy, right? And that's sort of this example here with Render in the last cycle back in 2021, right? I saw this time and time again back then. And matter of fact, I'm seeing it so much even now, where there was this sort of like downward momentum and downward spiral of emotions where everyone was thinking, I want to get out, either crap coin for Render, or whether it's the whole market, like maybe when I'm back to break even, I'm just going to sell everything. And what happens is when the market does turn, and it instantly turns like it's done, right now, it's been a massive turn of events. People think to themselves, okay, well, you spiral upwards. When you are back to break even, it's on the back of a 3, 4, or 5x. And so you're not thinking, well, I'm still pessimistic where I was 5x ago. I'm thinking, well, could I get 5x more? So, maybe you're back to break even, or maybe you're like, rather than getting a 10x, I want a 2x. But at the 2x, it's like I've just 7x'd. You see what I'm saying? You're kind of following this super greedy and super fearful emotions that if you do eventually sell, you're always kind of like tethered to the market. As any good salesman would know, once you plant that seed, that's a really good step. And so that's kind of what the whales are hoping for here. Because again, whether you are still holding this whole way through, or whether you sold down here, for example, after being put through the ringer, right? You end up buying back in higher, whether it's DCAing higher, or whether it's you just FOMO back the whole portfolio higher, whatever it may be. They're kind of counting on that, because that is the way that they actually exit. You see, if you have one person making $1 million, like a whale, smart money, so to speak, right? For them to make that money, you have to have 1,000 people losing $1,000. I kind of wanted to move into a very important point Peter from House of Crypto does mention, which is moving back towards the emotional side of thinking. And I do want to give a big shout out to Peter on Twitter. First link down below. Please go follow Peter. If you watch him on YouTube, the House of Crypto, you will 100% want to follow him on Twitter. He was recently hacked. You guys may have heard of that. Lost his Twitter account. So let's get him back up to the followers he was before. Needless to say, he pretty much talks about this in this post. He understands this more than anyone else, I do believe, right? So crypto is about to go crazy. It will play with your emotions, because your logical brain and decision-making ability will be impacted when you see these big gains come. It's way worse, in my opinion, than extreme fear. Decide now on how much you're looking to make during the bull market, so be reasonable. And when you get there, get the F out. Most will never make it because they never set a plan and get carried away. Now, I spoke about this on last night's video in detail, and I spoke about 7 principles, setting up a new portfolio, what you must do. And what Peter just said was pretty much 2 or 3 topic points there, mainly revolving around setting a goal now while your brain is still thinking more towards fear than greed. Again, it's less powerful than greed. And that way you can actually set a limit. Set a clear goal for how much money you want to make overall. Revenue, for example, maybe in this example, right? The revenue for you is $10,000. Maybe you put in $1,000 into the market. Okay, and so you're like, I need to make 10,000. But there's a difference between a want and a need, right? I want a Lamborghini. I want 10 mansions. I want 11 girlfriends. But a need is something you need to acquire the next step in your financial freedom. And you are the only one that knows that. Okay, so don't be too greedy. Like Peter said, be reasonable. But let's say that goal or that need overall is $10,000. So in this case, let's just play a situation out here, because I think a lot of us will end up finding ourselves in this situation over the next 6 to 12 months. So let's say you're on the way up to your goal of $10,000 revenue, and you're on the way up. You end up hitting that. Great. That's your goal. Tick. Life's great. Okay. Problem is, maybe you let that little leprechaun or that green goblin in the back of your mind say, hey, what's a little bit more? All right, portfolio's up. Maybe you're at all-time highs of the portfolio. Maybe Bitcoin is making moves like it is now. It's just had green candle after green candle after green candle. And maybe, again, altcoins in general are just like really bullish, okay? And so you think, why not? What's the harm in it? So you end up going for a little bit more, okay? So you end up going to $15,000. Maybe you move your price target from $1 to $1.50. And maybe you get lucky, right? Maybe you end up hitting that target. Well, again, maybe you let that leprechaun also convince you that it's going to go higher. So maybe you've gone from $1 up to $2, therefore your exit has 2x'd, and you're trying to look for 20 grand. Well, the problem here is eventually, the more you kick this can down the road, if you haven't set that clear goal and stick with it, there's going to be a point where likely you get unlucky, and it might happen on multiple coins, that you end up finding a coin doesn't hit that next target, and you get stuck not being able to sell. Because there is a very real problem in crypto, a very, very big problem with trying to sell. As Vandal says here, it blows my mind how influencers consistently talk about crypto, digital assets, and so on, without ever talking about how the heck you're going to off-ramp and sell. I don't think people understand. Buying is easy. Holding is easy. The difficult part is selling or cashing out and realizing your gains. At the very top part of when you're trying to sell, maybe again, back over here, it was around $2 to $1.50. Maybe that, for all you know, is the price prediction / the gray zone. This is GGR zones. We teach this in the private community. All that's trying to say is, what if you, unbeknownst to you, are trying to sell when there's no liquidity in the coin? So literally, you end up in a situation with a render over here where you're at the very, very top of the move. You've done all the hard work, you've held and so on, and then all of a sudden you keep pushing the can down the road and you try to sell up here. Well, then you have a situation where everyone's trying to sell between here. Don't let the chart mistaken you guys, okay? This is difficult to try to sell in. Any experienced crypto investor from any previous cycle will tell you this. So rather than you getting out of the coin at your desired $8 sell price, which is here, you might only be able to get out here at $3. And then maybe, and this is a pretty common scenario, you decide, you know what? I'm going to buy back in over here because it seems like the relief rally's in, and then you end up holding and end up getting cooked and holding down at $2. So you've gone from $8 to $2, which may be even beneath where you could have sold initially. And this happens time and time again. You would just tell yourself, I wish I just followed the clear plan. I wish I did not let the little green leprechaun get in my mind. And I would just reword the leprechaun to the whales. It's like the whales are in your ear saying, come on, keep buying, or don't sell, don't take profits. So again, it's meant to just materialize profits. Now, regarding emotions, I have to quickly throw in here as well. When it comes to buying altcoins, I've called them vehicles, and that's the way I see altcoins, guys. I don't see altcoins as something to fall in love with. I know a lot of people, and I get it because they've invested their hard-earned money into these coins. They do want the coins to succeed, but a lot of people naturally, when they buy crypto, have this tribalism factor where they have to have the coin do well. For example, there was a recent situation here with Mantra falling 90% OM, and I saw a guy on one of their posts saying, hey, I'm doubling down, I'm buying more, this won't stop me. And I think a lot of people are in that same mental state where they can't accept that the ship has sunken. They double down again, or they can't accept the vehicle, the coin essentially has fallen off a ditch, and that road cannot be taken anymore, okay? So that's a big problem, and I think when you're looking to buy coins in this market, naturally what I tell people, friends and family, is if you're going to go buy a random coin sporadically without any research, don't look outside the top 30, and even then it's a risk, right? But generally speaking, top 200 coins are where I'm kind of sticking to. Outside of that, if you have to push it, I think top 300 is the way to go. Most of the liquidity coming into the cycle for altcoins will be centralized in the top 500, and I've done a lot of research on this. Top 300 is a better bet for the average beginner. The problem is, even within these market cap coins, is you end up, I probably shouldn't even open up a coin because I got in trouble last time for talking about a coin that I randomly picked. But, if you find one of these coins, they could be spiraling downwards, right? They could be in a situation where 3 months ago, there was some horrible news that came out that you didn't know or you didn't research enough. And all of a sudden, the coin is going to underperform or actually lose money in a bull run, whereas they should be spiraling upwards. And that can be very dangerous in a situation where you're emotionally tied to a coin that isn't a downward spiral. And again, maybe it does gain some money, as most coins do in this bull run here, but it's not meeting your expectations. It's not hitting your goals, your targets, the money you want out of it, basically, like in this example. And of course, that same situation plays out. Okay, you end up falling and fumbling the bag, it comes down, and you end up holding a coin that's worth nothing. When you look at a coin, think of it more as a car or a vehicle, and the goal, the total amount of money you want to make, the revenue in this example here, that's a destination, okay? And so you just need to buy the right car to reach the destination. If it is a nice flat road, okay, if you want a 5X, for example, then a lot of the cars like Ondo, Hedera, Chainlink, Render, ICP, these coins and the best narratives that are known as the best coins in those narratives are like Lamborghinis. They'll get you there nice and quick, nice and easy. There will be some bumps, but again, that's your best bet, non-financial advice, of course. Whereas if you're looking for a big goal, right, let's say that destination is 100x away, okay, you're trying to turn $1,000, let's say, into $1 million or 1,000x, well, guess what has to happen then? You've got to go right down to the really sketchy cars, and you've got to travel a very sketchy path. Now, if you take a Ford Fiesta off-road, all right, chances are that thing's not going to make it very far, all right? Chances are maybe you get lucky, okay? Like there are some rare cases where millionaires are made very quickly like that, but that Ford Fiesta ain't going to beat a 4x4. So it's very hard to find that 4x4 in amongst a sea of meme coins, shit coins, micro caps. Set that clear goal, like Peter said, be realistic, and please, for the love of God, do not mess up this generational wealth, or screw the generational wealth title. Don't mess up this chance to just make some money. Don't be greedy. Don't let the little leprechaun win. Thanks so much, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.